All right, brother, we're live. Well, I mean, we're recording, but we're going. All right, my man.
Yeah,
So we just kind of talked beforehand, but how you doing, brother? Doing good?
I'm doing great, doing great. A lot of things happening in life, things moving forward, and kind of seeing kind of the light at the end of the COVID tunnel. You know what I mean?
I
The
do
gym,
know what you mean.
well, yeah, just jujitsu, kickboxing. So, what about you?
Nothing much, man. Just a little jealous that you're getting back into sparring, doing some striking. We kind of talked about that beforehand, but me, man, just working and relaxing when I'm not working and trying to keep up with all these different podcasts. So I'm enjoying it, man. It's a little bit more relaxed, but I've always been more of a relaxed type of guy, I think.
You're wearing many hats. That's like, and I've been looking into doing like the MMA podcast, but at the same time, I might do a soccer podcast and a
Ooh.
professional wrestling podcast. So I might be in your shoes soon as well.
Brother, I hope so, man. I will definitely tune into all of those, my man. All right,
All
brother.
right.
So which one
Yes,
which one do you want to start with, my man?
I guess we can go over the like kind of the earlier one with the Whitaker Till. What do you think about this one? What are you some of the main takeaways? You definitely got a lot of performance of the night bonuses on that card.
Dude, that fight card was gnarly, man. So do you want to start from the top and go down? You want to do Whitaker and Till? Do you want to get right into it?
Yes, yeah. So Whitaker
Um,
Till, it was a very kind of technical striking match. I thought they would let loose a little bit more, but yeah, it ended up being very strategic matchup. There was like couple knockdowns scored in between, and it was a very close one. And I think Whitaker might have stole it at the very end with that takedown that kind of secured him the fight. In a
yeah,
way, I was pulling for Till to kind of mix up the division and get him against Stylebender, which would have been an interesting matchup. But I guess yeah, but Whitaker, I gotta agree. This was I think he edged it out. Like this wasn't as close as probably the Romero ones, where it was literally a coin toss. How you look at it, I think Till uh, just missed out a little bit, and I think Whitaker won, and he's probably going to be in line for like a rematch since he had the belt for such a long time.
yeah. I agree with you. I think I'd have to rewatch it, of course, but I thought it was a pretty clear 48-47. I thought Whitaker definitely took it at the end. Thought it was a very good striking matchup, like you said. It was Darren Till's counter striking movement, and Robert Whitaker is just so unorthodox. And when he rushes in and just kind of just leads with his head, and he did extremely well. I thought. I think I just saw that he got matched up against Jared Cannonier
Oh, that would be a
from the
very
lab.
interesting one. Missed out on that. Karen Neer definitely been on a roll. Even stopped Jack Hermanson that was also on a roll, and I think that's definitely like a great number one contenders matchup. Yeah, for sure.
Without
And
question.
the biggest moment in the fight, I think, was in end of second round when Whitaker really stunned Hill as well.
Mhm.
I think that was kind of the main takeaway, and that nasty cut at the end that cut to Whitaker open.
Yeah. I look forward to them fighting again, but yeah, I think Whitaker definitely got the edge on the feet, and he was a little bit more varied, a little more grappling and some groundwork. So definitely gave that to Whitaker. And then on the next one, Shogun versus Little Nog. I don't know how you scored it, man. I was leaning towards Little Nog on this one. I thought Little Nog did enough to kind of win that fight.
I don't know. Like it's very interesting how initially, like you expect in the first fight, the things go like it would be surprising that the new guy Shogun showed like such a good performance, but then in the later fights, if they fight again, you imagine the younger fighter is going to be even better in the second fight. But here, both of them just have put on so many miles that you cannot tell even one who is the fresher fighter of the two.
Brother.
And but I think again, like Shogun again edged it out. I think early on he did enough to win that fight for me. So I think it was also a 29-28 for, and it was good for what it was. I think it's just two guys like and just two legends like Vitor Belfort's Legends League. I think it's still a great idea. I think this would be a perfect headliner for one of those cards. But yeah, I don't know whether I would want to throw Shogun in against like a Dominic Reyes or like one of the top contenders. I don't think this type of striking would work fare well in the very top of UFC's 205 right now. What do you think?
No, I think like you said, dude, it was fun, man. They were throwing. It was very fun to watch. I agree with you. I think Shogun should probably retire based off the fact that it was a win and the fact that, like you said, I don't know if he faces the upper echelon. that might be tough. And they're both kind of getting up there. But I thought it was a damn good fight. I thought it was a hell of a trilogy. I think it was a total of 15 years for this rivalry. Now, I mean, I put air quotes because it wasn't too big of a rivalry, but as far as they didn't like it, I mean, it's not like they hated each other, but they fought a lot and they fought really well. And, you know,
they've ever time, yeah.
Hope they ride off into the sunset. And then, man, I was so disappointed in the Verdum Gustafsson, man.
Yes, like I had expected to kind of Gustafsson kind of be rejuvenated. I liked how he looked at 240 pounds. He looked like kind of like JDS almost. Like
he looked good. He looked good in the first minute or so. His movement. Be
like a very technical boxer with great footwork and everything. But again, like Fabricio Verdum, I based off his Alnix performance, I also had completely written him off. But he just reminded us still that, like, if you go to the ground with him, there's very few guys that will survive anywhere in MMA. And I really liked how he stayed on that takedown. Like, Gustafsson's a very hard guy to take down, but he just stuck with it. And when he just had the back, it was all over. It was like no chance coming back from there. And Verdum's you're in a rear naked choke.
Oh yeah, he latched onto him, got that back, man. And you know, when Fabrizio Verdum gets your back, man, it seems to be all over from there, unfortunately. So I hope Gus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I love that transition to the armbar from the back that he does. He does that quite often. I love that one. But hopefully Gus will be back, and I look forward to seeing Verdum fight because I think Gus, beating Gus even at heavyweight, I think is a big win. I really do.
And what I heard, Verdum might not sign a new extension with the UFC actually, so he can definitely, I think, get some good money in some other organizations. A lot of people are saying that he should go against Ryan Bader for the Bellator heavyweight title. So I mean, it's all up to him. With this win, he's kind of back in it, and with Gus, it's like I don't know whether, I mean, obviously it wasn't that like he got annihilated in this fight, but he just was kind of not careful, not respecting the submission game. But at the same time, I just can't see Gustafsson being a contender anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, brother. I'm gonna run through the last four of this main card quickly. Carlos Esparza beats Marina Rodriguez. Good fight. I think Carla does what she does best. She stuck on the grappling like a dog on a bone. Got some takedowns, got some control. Definitely think that was a pretty clear winner. Paul Craig got the triangle choke with those long legs, son.
He's kind of these Chechen guys just haven't learned to like Magomed Ankalaev. They might dominate him on top, but he just catches everyone in triangles, and you know it's coming. But he still manages to. I don't know which one win it was, but I think it's at least 7 or 8 triangle choke finishes already for him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him fight some more. I even liked him on the feet too before he went to the ground. Then we have Cowboy Oliveira, man, probably one of his best performances. Very, very, very cerebral striking with it worked the body of Peter Sabata, and I think that Peter Sabata looked like he had a long layoff, kind of like what we talked about. I think we talked about that kind of coming in.
More rapid style as well, so he definitely struggled against the striking of Oliveira.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And then this guy is getting a lot of hype. I'm starting seeing videos. People
got the star in our hands. He's already calling out McGregor and everything, and
McGregor's answering apparently.
Yeah, he's something special for sure. He's not just a regular wrestler. There's something about his pressure and presence that is just kind of just sucks everything out of you and your opponents. And Reese McKee was quite an up-and-coming contender, and I don't think he threw a strike in the whole fight. That's how dominant it was.
Yeah, man. And then I was really impressed with Francisco Trinaldo against a young buck.
Big punch for sure.
It was nasty, bro. And it was a good fight, man. Trinaldo was doing well. Then Herbert was coming back in the second round and landing some really, really, really varied strikes. And Trinaldo just landed and showing that he's still got some steam up ahead, brother.
I don't know what's next for Trinaldo, but out of this fight, we might get a Herb Dean versus Dan Hardy matchup in MMA. They've both got some MMA experience, so actually see that. Maybe Dan's the slightly more better MMA fighter, but Herb's the bigger guy, so actually you would pay to see that.
I didn't even think about that. That would be hilarious. But real quick, what's your take on that? I'm kind of behind. I first off didn't think it might be because I've seen a lot. I mean, we've all seen a lot worse stoppages. I didn't think it was like the end of the world. I definitely thought he probably could have stopped it, but it's different when you're in there. And I agree. I don't think Dan Hardy should like confront him afterwards because the one thing about just refereeing, man, it's so freaking hard. You're not always there's going to be one or two times, and Herb is really good at this, not always having late stoppages. So yeah, I'm kind of more on Herb's side on this one, and but I get Dan Hardy, and I like him. He's one of my favorite analysts. I think he's so technical, and he's such a good personality. But I think you got to kind of leave it to the ref.
I kind of see it both guys' hands. I can definitely see where Dan Hardy coming from, because Herb is like, as much as they are telling he's the best referee in the business, like I'm actually, this has happened like a bit too many times, not only twice on this card, but also in the past. But at the same time, Herb also probably judges more high-profile fights than anyone else in the business, and that's why he probably is going to statistically just going to have some of these more controversial stoppages. But I see where both guys are coming from. Hopefully you can just move on from this and everyone's going to be the better person from there on out. Yeah. But the biggest surprise of the night was Jesse Ronson and Nicholas Dalby. I was completely betting pretty much my house on it, and now I'm homeless basically because of it. Because, yeah, Dalby was significantly bigger guy, 170, against Ronson, who's kind of independent scene 155-pounder, and he just looked very sharp, and he's already called out some 155ers. So kind of looking forward to seeing what he can do with his experience in the UFC.
Yeah, the only fight that we got wrong on the prelims was that one, right? Yeah, Jesse looked good. He landed a good shot. Got the takedown, or I'm sorry, got the submission very early on, and he screwed it up for us, right? But we called these two ones pretty well, both of the heavyweight ones, the Tom Aspinall and Tanner Bosser, except Bosser we thought was going to be a little bit earlier on, but they both got the KO. Jake Collier, man, did look like he should probably go back down to 205.
I was about to say that 265 pounds. I was surprised that John Vellante went up to 230, 240-ish. But 265 from 205, I don't know, that it almost looked too easy for Tom Aspinall. It just took him like a little knee, 1-2, and it was all over in less than a minute.
It was rough, man. It was rough. And the rest, all decisions. We have Movsar Evloev. I'm going to have a hard time with all these words. Decisioning. Mike Grundy was a good matchup, but he definitely won that one. Pani Kianzad beat Betch Kohea. I think that was a pretty good call. I think she was doing better on the feet. Then we had Amiv beat Nicholas Stoltz, and then Nathaniel Wood beat John Castendia, right? Pretty much all clear-cut winners, I thought. All seemed to be better a little bit everywhere. Other people had kind of a couple moments, but I don't think anything too crazy. Is that what you think?
For a second. So, yeah, but I definitely agree with that card. It was really big fight card. Obviously, we had like so many fights. I think it was like the most fights on the card since UFC 2, in fact, the fact I read. But then the next card was like slightly shorter fight card. We can quickly go through from top to bottom as well.
Yeah, I was looking – I'm not going to lie, man. I was looking forward to a lighter card, brother. So – Derek Brunson versus Edmund Shabazzian, man. I mean, Derek Brunson putting a halt to the hype, so to speak. Edmund, man, he looked pretty decent. First round I thought was close. I didn't really see a real clear-cut winner, but as it wore on, man, Derek Brunson started shining, and Edmund looked tired, brother. He looked real tired.
Yeah, he definitely, I think they could have stopped that in the corner at the end of second round. I think he was out already. I don't think they should have even let him go out for the third round.
I agree.
You could definitely see he wasn't ready for it. And I mean, Derek Brunson, you can't count him out. I mean, if you even look at his record, he's had some setbacks. But if you look at the names, it's Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, like the two best in the division, and then Anderson Silva. I think he won that fight actually.
Definitely won that fight.
And yeah, otherwise he's been doing really good, and I think he can still make one more run potentially for the title. So I was really impressed with Brunson for sure. And looking at this card again, so I definitely enjoyed Bobby Green, Lando Inada. That was probably of the two cards, that was probably the best fight. I actually looked into some of the trash talk before the fight. That was actually really entertaining as well. And yeah, I was actually surprised that Bobby Green, kind of the fighter with more miles on him, got the W in the end. I think Lando Inada is I thought he was also, this performance against Ferguson, I thought he's going to be star for years, but when he's fought slightly lesser competition, I thought he would run right through them and
kind of fights to the level of them.
Rematch Ferguson some down the line. But I don't think that's really going to happen now, because obviously he's had couple losses now, and Bobby Green just outstruck him, and he could potentially as well have a couple bigger matchups coming up, since I heard he switched up. He's gotten proper coaches, kind of a roadmap, and he's refocused, remotivated, and he could potentially make a run farther up the UFC ladder.
Yeah, I thought this was probably the best Bobby Green's looked like in a long time. Like you said, he's been around, man. He's been around for a long time, since bully beatdown days, brother. And so
Josh Thompson, Nate Diaz in the UFC even, and stuff like that. Yeah.
But I thought he looked fantastic. Like you, kind of like what you touched on. I've been very high on Lando Inada. First off, because that name is amazing, and since his very close loss to Ferguson, where he kind of knocked him down in the first round. So I think that's a big win for Bobby Green. And that fight was just gangbusters. I loved watching that. And then to kind of finish up the mid card real quick, you have Jennifer Maia pretty much securing the flyweight title shot by submitting Joanne Calderwood. Freaking hell of a ground game. She even looked good on the feet, where Joanne is most comfortable. And then we had Vicente Luque KO, kind of that perfectly timed knee to Randy Brown. And he looked good the whole time, man. He was sitting him down with leg kicks, bro. Randy Brown's back was against the cage. I think it's time to get Vicente Luque a guy up there, man, up there in the ranks a little bit more.
I agree. I don't think he gets enough credit. And then I guess before we predict the next cards, we can quickly just talk through the Bellator card, because that's definitely one of the better Bellator cards I've seen in a while for sure. And you got Benson Henderson, Michael Chandler rematch. You got heavyweights Matt Mitrione and Tim Johnson, and also you had a good undercard as well.
Oh yeah. So let's do the Chandler Benson, man. I'm really curious who you think's going to win that one.
I mean, the odds on are mostly on Michael Chandler, heavily actually, and I'm not so sure how it's so one-sided. I think it's a pretty even matchup, but I think Chandler is still kind of the fighter that has less miles on him, and I think it's again going to be a very close decision in the end, and I think Chandler's just going to edge it.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go. This may be my heart talking more, man. I like to think Benson Henderson's going to win this fight. Chandler's coming off of the knockout loss to Pitbull, and they had a close fight. I've been hearing that Benson's been looking a little bit better in the gym as over his last couple training camps. So I'm gonna put my money on Benson.
I'm going to be pulling for Benson for sure. Yeah, MMA Lab, but we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. And then I think Matt Mitrione's probably going to get it done against Timothy Johnson. Yeah, he's going to knock him out.
I think Tim Johnson, he just caught Tyler Fortune, also a GCU. There's actually 2 GCU graduates on the card. GCU represents.
GCU. A little upset. I don't have my shirt on, but.
Yeah, but I think he just happened to catch kind of very confident Tyrell Fortune, and I think Mitrione's going to kind of reestablish himself and definitely packs a punch if he's seen his fights before.
Oh, absolutely. And then we got Georgie. I always have a hard time saying his last name. Pretty highly touted, Georgie
Karakhanyan and Miles Jury, and Karakhanyan has definitely been kind of the journeyman in Bellator. He's had some knockout wins, had some knockout losses, but I think Miles Jury is still a UFC caliber fighter in my opinion. So I think Jury gets that done.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think Miles Jury is going to get that done as well. And then
at the undercard, you got quite an interesting one with Magic Mike Hamill himself making his Bellator debut, and GC represent, and he's got definitely quite the task ahead of him against Adam Boric, who's been like kind of Bellator's kind of big prospect they've been kind of hyping. And I think, what do you think about this one?
Shoot, man, I think, yeah, my heart, obviously we talked about my heart wants to go with Mike Hamill for sure. Obviously his wrestling, his grappling can give Adams some issues, but his stand-up, man, is so devastating. And coming off the Aero Pico, the Pico win, man, I think I got to put my money on Adam Boric, but I'm pulling for my main man. I don't even know him very well, obviously, but Mike Hamill. So I think that's definitely going to be the case there.
Yeah, I had a kind of chance to work with Mike Hamill a few years ago at the lab, and definitely a great guy, and definitely has great wrestling pressure. And I think he's gonna definitely need all of that in that cage, because Adam Boric is definitely like a master of 8 limbs, and Mike just can't get too carried away, because we saw how Aaron Pico got carried away and he just got flatlined by Boric. So it's definitely going to be an matchup. Mike Hamill is 9-1 actually in European odds, so it's maybe Boric taking a little shot, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Magic Mike Hamill, I'm gonna put money on you, brother. You mark my words.
All right.
And you want to do the main card of the fight card tonight, right?
Yes, so we can move on to this one. So we're going to go straight into the main card. First, you got Scott Holtzman versus Benildorush, and it's definitely a good matchup. Holtzman's looked really good as of late as well, but I think I'm going to go with Benildorush, because he definitely had like some top-level experience, had that great performance against Drakkar Klose recently, that wild brawl they had, and how he ended up slugging it out and winning it. And I think Dariush just has had a couple unfortunate losses. I'm very high on him. I think he can still be a contender, so going with Dariush here. Yeah,
Dariush has got four wins in a row, but kind of like you said, he talked about Drakkar Klose and Scott Holtzman. I think they're both kind of going out the lab. I think Scott Holtzman is going to be a little bit more prepared. I think coming off of obviously the experience that Drakkar is coming with, that gave or had with Benildorush. I'm actually thinking Scott Holtzman is going to win this fight. I think he's just going to be a little bit better, but we'll see, brother.
An interesting one for sure. And then the next one's had the late opponent trench. You got Yana Kunitskaya, Russian fighter, against my neighbors, Lithuanians. You got Yuliana Stoliarenko there, and she was on the Ultimate Fighter, and she didn't end up getting into UFC, but she's definitely been on a tear here in Europe since then. And but I think still Kunitskaya has that UFC experience, and I looked at some of Stoliarenko's opponents. They don't necessarily have the best records, and they've been quick submissions, and I don't think Kunitskaya is gonna be submitted that easily. And I think she's also the bigger fighter in the fight, and I think that's why I'm going to go with her on this one. Yeah,
I agree with you. I like that you said her last name perfectly, so I'm not going to try to butcher it, but I think Julia is coming off of, 5 wins, but I'm leaning more towards Yana's better kind of intermix success with much tougher organizations and promotions and fighters. Obviously, Chris Cyborg and Tanya Evans are kind of to name a few. So I think she'll be able to get it done. And I think it'll be a little bit too much for the UFC debuter.
Yeah, and then what do you think of the next one, the Darren Stewart Pitolo fight?
I think I'm leaning towards Stewart on this one, just because I mean he's got a win over Darren Wynn, who is a pretty highly touted guy out of the AKA, very high quality wrestler, like possibly an Olympic caliber, and he's got like a split decision loss to Edmund Shabazzian, who we kind of talked about earlier. So I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards him in that because he's had a little bit better success, I think. But we'll see, brother. What do you think?
I think I agree everything you said. I think Stewart's kind of the clear favorite based on his previous performances as well, and he can definitely elevate himself with this win. And then the next one's definitely a very interesting one. You got Chris Weidman returning to the middleweight division, and against Omar Akhmedov, who's been kind of on a tear. And I mean, this can go either way. You don't know what Chris Weidman's going to show up in this one. And I think Akhmedov is even the favorite on the scorecards, which is like crazy to think. Even a few years ago, Weidman being I thought he was going to be the middleweight king for years and years after beating Anderson Silva, but I think maybe Weidman just bit off a little too much he can chew and just accidentally ran into the contender that gave John Jones even run of his money. So I don't think he expected that. And I think he still has enough in the tank to beat Akhmedov. I think he's just too talented, and I think he still has a couple fights left in him.
Yeah. It seems like it's always this question. It's like the new guy on a tear through a little bit lesser opponents against the guy that's kind of been established. He's got some good wins. I'm with you. Although Mari has looked good in his last 6 fights, one of those being a draw, but, pretty much a 6-fight unbeaten streak. But I think Chris is going to be too much too soon. I think Chris is going to be able to rebound. I like Chris much better at middleweight than I do at light heavyweight. And like I said, I like Chris in this fight.
Yes, and then moving on to the main event. So this was definitely a toss-up. Like I had definitely hard time staying. I think Oleinik has been looking just so well in last few fights. Like is doing so well against Verdum, and definitely has massive advantage in the grappling and the ground department. But at the same time, Derek Lewis kind of has proven in the past that he might be losing the grappling exchanges, but can still land that big punch. And like he did against Shamil Abdurakhimov, I think Oleinik is even better version of him. And that's why I could definitely see Oleinik getting a submission win if he gets it to the ground. But I think Oleinik's striking, it's effective, but I think he just leaves a lot of holes in his striking, doesn't defend too well. And I think Lewis is just going to land that one big punch, and I think that's going to be it. And Derek Lewis is going to get a W again.
You think he's gonna get it? This one, there's a couple of X factors here because I've been watching a lot of Derek Lewis training, and he's been saying it, but I'm a big guy of kind of watching it. But I think he says he's training a lot harder, and based off what I've been looking at, he seems to be training a lot harder. But the thing that sticks out to me, man, is his maybe it wasn't his last fight, but 2 fights ago, his fight against Ilir Latifi. Very, very weird fight where Latifi did a lot better than I thought he was gonna do. Gosh, man, I'm with you, man. This one is so, I don't know, brother. I am just to have fun with it. You pick Derek. I think I like Oleinik in this one. I think he's gonna do enough to win this fight, and that he's gonna grab an Ezekiel choke. You heard her here first.
Yes, I don't know whether Derek Lewis will tab, but we might put him to sleep for sure that Ezekiel choke. Yeah, it's definitely inspired me to try some Ezekiels in the gym for sure.
Oh, dude, that was the first submission that I ever really learned, because I remember I heard it in a fight. It must have been like Forrest Griffin Rampage. At the end, like closer to the end of the fight, Joe Rogan said something along the lines of, because he was from his back in open guard, and he was like, man, maybe he can grab a no-armed Ezekiel choke. And I was like, what the freaking is a Ezekiel choke? And I looked it up, and it was Eric Paulson showing it from, you can do it from side control, you can do it from mount, you can do it from bottom, you can do it from standing. And then I've actually been able to hit that a lot. I think it's a very underutilized thing, and especially when you get the fist right there on the throat, man, on the Adam's apple, it can be devastating.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a basic move that it's like, well, how it would work on anyone. But I feel like, yeah, if you can just get the technique right, not just to squeeze the head, but properly place your hands, it can be very effective for sure.
Yes, sir. All right,
we're getting the pay-per-view cards. So you want to kick us off?
Yes. So this one, do you want to start? You want to go big? You want to go Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier first?
I guess we can start off with that.
Okay. I think there's a couple X factors here. For me, I think Daniel Cormier is going to focus a lot more on the wrestling game, because I think he even said to himself, if he stuck with the wrestling, he would have done a lot better, even though he was already doing fantastic, even on the feet, especially earlier on. Stipe's freaking cardio, man, is so good at heavyweight. I think it's going to look a lot like the first fight. I think DC is going to have some success early on. I think Stipe is going to have success too. I think it's going to start to go more so in Stipe's favor, and I think he's going to finish him later on in the fight. So I'm picking Stipe to retain his title over DC. What do you think, brother? I cannot pinpoint
Really
this one.
wanted to hear you first, yeah, because this was definitely the one that I didn't want to pick, and I don't know, when title fights been so hard to decide in recent memory, but it's just so hard to pick. Like both fights, like one of the fights, one fighter was dominating and the other one ended up winning, and the other fight was vice versa. The other fight has more success, and then the other fighter ended up winning. So I think Cormier, a lot of people say this might be his last fight, so he might not be there. But I just gonna pick it just for the interesting, just for the make this interesting. I think I'm gonna get Daniel Cormier is gonna win and just gonna retire as the UFC heavyweight champion and ride off the sunset and probably have like the fairy tale ending to his career.
I'll be honest, man. DC has grown on me, brother. As he's been more of an analyst, and I've been seeing his personality come out a little bit more. As he hasn't had as many like big like rivalries, I've been seeing a little more of him. So it would be cool to see him do that. But obviously, I love the fact that Stipe is a full-time firefighter too. So I think both good guys. I hope it's a hell of a fight. I hope they both kind of ride off into the sunset. But I'm still picking Stipe.
I don't know. Like a lot of people have been saying Cormier could be the next Dana White actually for the company, just with his personality and everything, and that he has actually run a press conference, I think, in the past. And I think Tommy Tohold even made fun of it that DC does all the jobs literally in the UFC.
All right, brother. What do you think about the Dos Santos Rosenstruck fight, man? Because for me, like I don't know why, man, but I'm leaning more towards Dos Santos on this one. I know Rosenstruck's got some good couple of wins, but I'm not quite sold on him as much as I am on Dos Santos. And I know he's a little bit older, but Dos Santos, I think his one is his at least his last fight. So I'm leaning towards Dos Santos. What do you think about that? Let me see.
Yeah, I think I like this one. I think they're definitely be clashing on this card. So I think I am sold definitely on Jorginho. I think he's a great striker. I think he just got caught against Ngannou, and I think when you fight, just start brawling with Ngannou, I don't think there's anyone that stands a chance against him. Mm-hmm. So I think Junior's chin from all the punches he's taken in Cain Velasquez's fight and all the knockouts, I think Jorginho is gonna maybe be outstruck early on, but I think he's going to land a big punch in the middle of the fight and win by knockout.
Yeah, I'm looking at Rosenstruck's record. He's a lot more seasoned in the UFC than I thought. But regardless, my vote has been selected, and that's what I'm going with. All right.
Yes.
What else do we got? We got
Sean O'Malley against Vera. I think O'Malley is definitely a star. I think this one's kind of easy pick. No disrespect to Vera, but I think O'Malley is going to be definitely a star in the UFC. So I'm going with him.
Yeah, I'm buying in, man. I'm all in on the Sugar Show. Welcome to the Sugar Show. No, I think he's gonna just outstrike him on the feet. I think he's gonna land. It's either gonna be a decision or a clear-cut decision, or I think he's gonna land that big strike, man. That Eddie Wineland knockout was just fantastic. So I think that's gonna happen.
That's the punch I've been kind of working on now. That's faking the jab and just going with that right straight.
Straight punches, man. It's hard for the eye to pick it up when it's coming straight. I've always been a big fan of straight punches over hooks and uppercuts and things like that. Even though uppercut comes in the singular.
What else we got Magomed Ankalaev and Ion Cutelaba. I think, the first fight ended controversially, but I think Ankalaev is just the better fighter against that one slip up on the banana peel against Paul Craig. Last second triangle. Ankalaev is definitely someone you should look out for. Again, one of the great Chechen fighters like Habib, Hamzat, and also I think Ankalaev could be in that conversation too. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we're butting again, brother. I'm picking Kutalaba to win this fight, man. I think he's gonna come out. I think he's gonna be pissed.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's gonna win this fight.
Yes, that's definitely an interesting one. And I think the next one I'm picking, I think we might clash as well, because I think Dvalishvili is the kind of the up-and-coming fighter, been on a winning streak, but actually I think John Dodson still has it in him. And I think John Dodson's like already stopped a couple like up and coming fighters, and also just lost the very elite in the division.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the wins Dvalishvili has gotten also I don't think are against like well proven UFC fighters. So I think John Dodson still has it, and he's gonna win.
Yeah, you're right, brother. We are clashing. I have
Hey,
Dvalishvili.
almost fight so far.
Yeah, I think his aggressive grappling, man. I think it's going to stifle much of Dotson's offense, and I think he's going to probably win a decision.
All right, yeah, I could definitely see that happening as well. But moving on to the next one, you got Souza and Ashley Yoder on the card, and I think the Souza is just kind of the fighter with less miles on her. She's kind of like an up and coming prospect, and I think I'm gonna go with her on this one.
Yeah, you can't go always off of MMA math, but I'm banking heavy on the fact that Souza did much better against a common opponent that they had, which was Angela Hill. She's got more consistent wins. So I think Souza. I pick Souza in this fight too, my man.
It's Felice Herrig coming off a long layoff, and she is going up against
Verna Genderova.
Yes, and actually, Herrig is a massive underdog on in the betting odds, which is surprising because actually she's had good performances in the past. But I think she's also like the betting odds are usually completely against the marketing odds. That's like you're still kind of situation with Pedro and Zant, and I think Felice Herrig's also just kind of has that name value with her. But I think Genderova is just the kind of the fresher fighter, and I think the layoff might play a factor as well. So I'm going to go with Genderova.
That's what I put too, man. Felice coming off a long layoff, coming off of 2 losses. I think Verna's has looked better in recent memory. But like you said, Felice, man, with that experience, she could get it done. But if you're asking me to pick, gun to my head, I'm picking Verna on this one.
Yes. Next one, you got Gilbert Burns' brother, Herbert Burns, who is also looking at his record as just finishes left and right. He's got that jiu-jitsu. He can knock people out. And Pineda is a former UFC fighter and has been on the journey around regional circuit and just kind of has a lot of losses on his record. So fortunately, I think he's just being fed to Burns, and I think Burns is going to get that done really quickly.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I'm high off of Herbert after his last fight that I watched him. Very impressed with his last performance. And yeah, Pineda had two back-to-back no contests. I looked at his record. I'm trying to look more into that. I couldn't find anything. That's weird. But I'm with you. I think Burns is gonna be a little bit better than Pineda.
And what do you think of the next one, Brown Chavez?
Gotcha. I think Chavez is gonna beat TJ Brown. I think. Sorry, TJ. Coming from this TJ, but I think he's going to be coming in with more momentum. He's ranked higher through multiple different MMA sources. That's kind of a little bit more when I put my eggs in that basket. So I think I'm picking Chavez over Brown. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. I'm not too familiar with both of the fighters, to be honest, but at the same time, I think the betting odds are stacked on. I think both fighters had some wins and losses, but I think Brown's like recently had win in Contender Series, and I think he's the odds-on favorite to win. So I'm gonna go with TJ.
TJ, you're voting for TJ. I'm not. Sorry, brother. And then there's a couple more that.
Two more, yeah. We got Porter and Dawkins in the heavyweight division. I think this can also be a heavyweight brawl, basically. But looking at the record, it was very hard to decide on this one. I think both of them have losses, but I think Porter's competition had like better records, more established fighters, while his opponent Dawkins has kind of had wins over fighters that have more losses on the record than wins. So I'm going to go with Porter here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have, man. I think Parker's looked a little more impressive in the opponents that he's faced, both making their UFC debut. And also, you can't fully bank on this, but it looks like Porter's in much better physical condition in most of the fights. But we just talked about DC earlier, so obviously that's never set in stone. But I'm picking Parker Porter as well.
And then the last one, you got Jim Miller and Vince Pichel.
I'm going with my man Jim Miller, brother. I think Pichel hasn't fought in a year. Miller's coming off of a recent win. I think he's going to keep the ball rolling, and I'm cheering for him to keep getting some more. Because I think he's got He's got the most fights in UFC history, right? Or has he not gotten that?
All he does, he's just fights. Yeah, and it's crazy. Yeah, it's a lot of respect for Jim Miller. So definitely a fighter I like for sure. But like, just keep the trend. I'm just gonna stir up the pot. I think I'm actually pretty high on Vince Pichel. I think he's been under the radar for years as well.
Yeah.
And it was one of the better guys on that Ultimate Fighter season, had like long layoffs, but ever since he came back, he had that setback against Gillespie, but also had a win over Roosevelt Roberts. And like I said, he's just a fighter I think has been under the radar, and it's gonna I definitely can see Miller getting yet another submission win, but I'm gonna go with Vince Pichel to make this more interesting.
Oh, I like it, brother. So what do you think? I think that's all of them, right? All done? All set in stone?
Yes, that sounds great. This would be a very interesting one to score for sure. I don't think this has ever been the case.
Yeah, we're normally a little bit more agreed upon, but yeah, this one will be more fun, definitely. And what I was thinking about doing is that we should do – the next podcast should be the day after the Stipe DC fight, where it's fresh in our mind. We probably watched all the fights. We'll probably do some predictions for some upcoming cards, but – so maybe the Sunday after that fight, we should look to get one of these going.
Yes, absolutely. You can review that card, and probably by then we'll have more of an idea what's going to happen in the upcoming UFC Apex cards, and then they'll be able to predict one of two of those as well.
Cool beans, brother. All right, man. That's all I got. What about you, brother? Got any closing remarks?
Thanks for supporting us, guys. Thanks for listening. Just keep sharing, keep liking, keep spreading the word, and really appreciate the work you've been doing, TJ, and also all the people watching at home.
Brother, you've given me back another reason to love MMA as much. I love the idea of being almost kind of needing to watch every single fight, taking notes, trying to learn a lot. I'm learning a lot more of these up-and-coming guys. It's been a while. I remember back when we were fans, back when we were kids, it was much easier to stay on top of all these guys. That sounded really wrong, but you know what I mean? It was easy to kind of, understand everybody. So man, you gave me a new lease on this UFC MMA life, brother. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to keeping this going because, brother, we do this anyways. We might as well record it and put it online. So if people tend to like it, they like it. But if they don't, man, it's all good, man. We keep doing it.
All right. Well, let's meet and after the UFC 252, got a lot of great fights coming up. So
yes,
looking forward.
Yeah. So the main event, the Latvian versus the American. We got a lot of butting heads coming up. I'm looking forward to it in the future, brother. Peace out, brother. Oh, look at those arms, brother. My goodness.